It's a very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. It's getting back to normal. Monday night shows. I hope you've all had a good weekend. Couldn't have been ruined because West Ham didn't play any football. So I'm sure you did have a pretty good weekend, unless, of course, you sat through the bore fest that was the England game, or maybe you watched something a little bit more exciting and you don't support England, you support whatever nation you're from, and you did an awful lot better than, well, England won. And that's about all you can say. England won. One of the dullest games. And Thomas Tuchel came out and said, "I'm happy, happy, happy at what, mate? Happy that I literally did fall asleep as I was watching the game and sort of like shook myself awake and then found that we were 2-0 up. I mean, that's how happy Thomas Tuchel was. But anyway, we'll talk about international football later on in the show. And international football yet again strikes again, doesn't it? Because every time we have an international break, injury bad luck hits us, doesn't it? So I'm going to talk about Niklas Fullkrug and what we can do as an alternative to Fullkrug. Apparently, he's only out for a couple of weeks, but we were told he was only out for a couple of weeks this time last year when he picked up his calf strain and muscle strain and whatever other strain he picked up. And then he ended up missing, 3 months? So I'm taking it with a pinch of salt that he's only out for a couple of games. Let's hope he is. But I'll talk all about that later on. But I'm going to go through some main headlines. And of course, I'm going to look at your chat and the comments that you've made. But the first thing I'm going to do is something on a personal note. Now, I know maybe some of you may or may not have seen the post I put up. And I just wanted to repeat it, really. If you know anyone that suffers from cancer, it doesn't have to be prostate cancer. If you know anyone that suffers from cancer and you want to support prostate cancer because it means something to me, you can become a channel member. There's the link below. If you click on that and become a channel member, or if you look at where the comments are in YouTube, there are some buttons down there. I think there's a button that's got like a dollar sign or something, and it's got membership down there. So if you want to become a member, the proceeds that I make out of membership, I will double the money and it will go towards the prostate cancer charity. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm having an operation in 2 weeks' time to take out the prostate, to get rid of the cancer, which is why I'm doing it. So if you want to support the charity, no obligation. Of course, it's not everyone's bag, and I totally understand that. But if you want to do a good cause and become a member at the same time, members get special videos, little snippets. I don't know if you've enjoyed them, the members that are in the chat at the moment, but you get 1 or 2 videos. Everything else is free. I always say that, but members get a little bit extra. Anyway, let's get on with it, shall we? Let's do a few headlines before we talk about the internationals and talk about, how we're going to replace Niklas Fullkrug while he's, out injured. First off is, of course, the chat last week about Frank Lampard. You've seen the stories. You've seen the headlines. Apparently, we've approached Frank Lampard to replace Graham Potter as West Ham's manager. What a load of hogwash. I mean, you read some stuff when it is the international break, there's an awful lot of crap out there. And this, people, is an awful lot of crap. We haven't approached Frank Lampard. We never did approach Frank Lampard. We're not going to approach Frank Lampard. And the story, I believe, was made up just in order to wind up the fan base. And it did just that job. It absolutely did wind up that fan base. Look, when I asked for corroboration, the simple response was not true. It was 2 words, not true, meaning that we're not going nowhere near Frank Lampard. And why would we? Why would we? A player who was derided as a player for West Ham, has the piss taken out of him at every away game with the songs that are sung about him. And he's not necessarily been a very good manager, has he? In the clubs that he's managed, he's not been a bright spark in any way, shape, or form. So why would we think for 1 minute? I know our owners, and I'm going to do a lot more about the ownership, because with all the protests coming up, etc. I've got a special guest coming on next week to discuss all that, and I'll be doing another show about what's going on with the process and so on. So we know the owners have made some really bad decisions in the past. Avram Grant as a prime example in terms of really bad managerial choices. But I think even they would know that Frank Lampard would be an awful choice as a manager. It's a made-up story. It's gained an awful lot of traction. And let's just, and ironically, it's not just stopped over the weekend. It's still carrying on today about, what are Coventry City going to do when Frank Lampard leaves? Don't worry, Coventry fans. He's going nowhere. And if he is, he's not coming to West Ham. Another story that hit the headlines, and this is my fault. I'll hold my hand up. Another story that hit the headlines over the weekend, that we were told that Crescencio Somerville was injured. And I went with it. But I did put a massive caveat in my show when I talked about it. I said this was not corroborated. I need to double check before. But I went with it, stupidly enough. And I see, a lot of tongues were wagging at the weekend about Somerville, having only recently just come back. And the reason why the tongues were wagging is because he was missing from the Rush Green video, the training. These I don't like them. They're quite. I don't know what they're gaining by putting these videos out. But anyway, I watched it. He weren't on it. A couple of other people mentioned it. And all of a sudden, Crescencio Somerville is injured. Well, we've been told that he's not. Apparently, the video was done, it was introducing our latest recruits, Igor Julio and Songutu Magasa. They were taking their first training sessions, but Crescencio Somerville was nowhere to be seen. And that's how the rumor sort of gained traction. And we're all saying, "Oh, here we go again." He's got another groin strain. He's going to be out for God knows how long, etc., etc. I'm really glad to say that that's been disproved. And from what we're told, he will be available for the Spurs game this coming Saturday. Let's hope so, because it's fair to say that without Somerville's introduction in the game against Forest last weekend, we probably wouldn't have won that game. He was one of the game changers, literally a game changer in that game. He created 2 goals. He laid it off for the first goal for Bowen. He won the penalty for the second goal for Paquetá. And he was involved in the build-up for the third goal as well. Now, do I think he's going to start the game against Spurs this coming weekend? I don't think he will. I think he's going to be eased in. Fingers crossed he's available. But he's going to be eased in, and I think he'll play apart from the bench rather than anything else. Now, what was also interesting about Somerville, I think it came out today or maybe yesterday, is that Nottingham Forest came knocking on the door to sign the player after they had sold Elanga. And fantastic to hear that Somerville turned down any transfer advances, not only from Forest, but from clubs in Germany as well. I said it before the season started that, I think he's going to be an important player for us. I think, and I maintain that if we can keep him fit, he's one of the few players that we've really got to keep fit. If we can keep him fit, I think he's going to be a fantastic player for us. I really, really do. And I wish him well. And I really do hope that what we're told today, that it's not true about him being injured, is actually the truth, because I think he'll make a massive difference against Spurs this coming weekend. Now, there was a behind closed doors game that was played against Watford last Friday. And we got snippets, didn't we? We heard that Guilherme played half an hour, so he's back from injury. We don't know if Somerville played. So a massive irony. We believe he did, but I'm not 100% sure. But we're also aware that Preston Fearon came on and scored the equalising goal. It finished 1-1. Now, I've tried to work out with all the players that are out on international duty, I've tried to work out who would have played in that game. Now, we know Areola wasn't picked for the French national squad. We know Todibo wasn't picked, nor Kilman and nor Igor. So I've gone with a pack 3. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. And then we know that Carl Walker-Peters wasn't picked, and neither was Scarles. And we know Freddie Potts wasn't picked, and Magassa would have at least had some game time. I think Igor and Magassa would have had some game time. Would they have started? I don't know. George Earthy is back from injury, so maybe he started. If Somerville played, I'd put him in there. And of course, Callum Wilson. And players that may have got some game time, may have included Foderingham. I've got a bit of news about him in a moment as well. James Ward-Prowse, Rodriguez, we know is still there. We know Irving is still there. Guilherme, we know he came on. And then I've included a couple of youngsters. I've included Ezra Myers, our central defender. I've included Preston Fearon in midfield and Mohamedou Kante, who's having a pretty good spell in the under-21s as well. Pure guesswork, but that's my calculation, because if you look on the other side, all the players out on international duty are, weren't available, of course. So I don't know. It's a guess, but if Somerville, that's, it shows, interestingly, that we've got, even if you take the youngsters out, we've still got a little bit of strength in depth there, haven't we? We've got enough midfielders there now, with Earthy coming in and the likes of Potts and Magassa, of course, Somerville coming back from injury and so on. I think we've got not a bad lineup, apart, of course, from our striker situation, which I'll talk about in a moment. So if Somerville played, fantastic. But the news we heard was about Guilherme, played half an hour, and we heard that Preston Fearon scored the equalising goal. Good that Potter is doing this whilst the international break is on. I think it's good. Keeps up the momentum. Players who are not on international duty are getting a bit of game time, and that bodes well. Right, what else have we got? Well, the women's team. Before I do that, I said I've got a bit of news about Wes Foderingham. Now, this I do not... I'm not sure if I believe this story, because it came out tonight. Apparently, Fabianski's back in place for Wes Foderingham. I don't know whether to believe that or not, to be quite honest with you. And the reason why I'm not sure that I believe it is because Wes Foderingham is one of the homegrown players listed in our squad. Now, I think we've got a couple of places left in the squad at this moment in time. I think there are only going to be something like 22 players who are going to be put forward, and we can have a squad of 25. Why 22? Well, if you go back to that graph I showed you there, the reason why I think there will only be 22 players listed, what happened to that? That's better. Is because the likes of any player who's only just turned 21, or under 21, should I say, like Skulls, I think Earthy as well. I think Potts is just over the threshold. So there's players like Skulls and Earthy, Guilherme, etc. do not have to be listed in the squad that we are. We offer two squads. We give a squad of all the players in the senior team, and then we give a squad of players under 21 players. So the likes of Guilherme, the likes of Earthy, the likes of Callum Marshall, etc., can be listed as under 21 players, which means that we're probably only going to show a list of something like 22 players. That means there are 3 players that we can actually bring in, free transfers, etc., to enhance that squad. But also, Foderingham is part of the homegrown. So homegrown includes the likes of James Ward-Prowse, Foderingham. I know I'm going to get this wrong, so bear with me. Carl Walker-Peters, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Jared Bowen is homegrown, and one or two others are homegrown. Kilman is homegrown. So you need 8 homegrown players if you enter a squad of 25 players. It's 7 if it's 24 and 6 if it's 23 or something like that. So at this moment in time, he makes up one of the homegrown players, which is why I don't think this story is true. I think it will be interesting if it is true. I think it'll be interesting to see whether this gains momentum over the coming days. But the news tonight is apparently that we're going to bring in Fabianski, and we're going to lose Wes Foderingham from the squad. Interesting, hey? I wonder what's going on, because if we're bringing in Fabianski and we've got Hermansson as our number 1 choice, is this pushing out Alphonse Areola, which a lot of people thought might happen during the transfer window? Intriguing. Always intriguing at West Ham. Of course, we can bring Fabianski in because he's a free agent, of course. So there you go. Now, what about some other news? Well, I know you don't like listening to the women's team, but they're part of West Ham. The women's team kicked off their Premier League campaign at the weekend, and they lost marginally to a 1-0 away defeat against Spurs. Spurs got an 84th minute penalty, and they won the game. So unlucky to them. I think the next game for the women's team is Arsenal, so it doesn't come easy. What about some players? We've got a load of players on loan. So let's go through those before I start talking about our internationals and about what we're going to do up front with the fact that old BFG is missing. In midweek, the Enterprise National League Academy goalkeeper Mason Terry celebrated reaching 100 senior games as he made an appearance for Braintree Town, who hosted Tamworth. The 20-year-old shot stopper, who has been averaging over 5 saves a game, was yet to concede at home in his first 4 games. And of course, what happens when you celebrate something? They lost to Tamworth 2-1. So unlucky for losing, but well done for reaching that milestone. Gideon Kodua has been in action for Luton Town in Southern Group H. The Virtu, I've never heard of this. The Virtu Trophy, what is it, Cup or something? Have you heard of that? The Virtu Trophy Cup? Anyway, the Luton Town are in that, and Gideon Kodua started his second game in 4 games for Luton, and just 11 minutes in, Kodua was picked out down the wing before he zipped in an excellent cross for Luton to score their first goal. They won 4-1 in total. So well done to our players out on loan. There are an awful lot of other players out on loan, but I'll bring you up to date on those in next week's West Ham Weekly when they're all playing, of course. Right, before I go into the internationals, let's see who's in the chat. I've only got 189 comments to catch up on, so that won't take me long. Well, where are they? Why are the comments not there? I've got 2 starred comments. Thank you, Gary, for gifting some freebies. And Harry, you shouldn't have done, mate, but thank you so much. I'm missing 100. Oh, there they are. God, I got a bit panicky there. They all disappeared, but there they are. So we'll go right to the top. Good evening to you, Stephen. I hope you're well. Stephen again. Would like Antonio to come back to play for West Ham again this season. What you say about this? What I say about it is I'll tell you in a minute. And great result for England. Oh, so you stayed awake then, Stephen. Septic, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Please stop suggesting Antonio as an option. He's finished. This is interesting because that's going to be the next topic. Tuxedo Dilla, good evening to you. He's coming back. Don't get me wrong. I've love for Antonio. Hope he smashes it. It would be very interesting to see him play up front with his mate. Return of Dad's Army, Graham. You still in Spain or are you back in Canada, mate? I hope you had a wonderful holiday. Robin, good evening to you. Madness thinking of Antonio coming back. Marshall needs to be given a chance. He's an international player. It's very true. He absolutely is. Ray, good evening, mate. I hope you know. Well, Mark, good evening, mate. Good evening. Heard West might be go abroad and Fab returns. There you go. Just mentioned it. Daniela, good evening to you. Everyone, come on. Antonio's not returning. Please, let's move on from this. I wouldn't say never. I wouldn't say never. I mean, stranger things have happened, especially at West Ham United. Peter, evening, mate. What's wrong with getting the Brazilian lad? He looks useful. Who are you talking about? Which Brazilian lad? One that we've got or one that I don't know any sort. I've been looking at scouring for new stories, so you're going to have to tell me who you're talking about there. Good evening, Hammerette. How are you? I hope you're well. Toha, good evening to you. Finally, a show that is not going on and on and on and on and on about the board and no confidence. Oops. You might not want to watch my next show then. Toha, I hope you're well, mate. CC. Is that clickbait still, or are you actually bonkers even? So I'm not suggesting it, but it is a story that's out there. It really actually is, and I'll explain why in a minute. Antonio and Fab should not return, in my opinion, Amoret. We are striving to be a better, younger side. You can't go back on the decision already made. Makes us look even more pathetic, if that's possible. I kind of agree. Hammerett, thank God Somerville's not injured. I really feel we stand a great chance against the Spuds if we continue the last match's form. Completely agree. CC, good evening, mates. Despite asking a daft question about Antonio, even you still, despite asking, I'm asking the question because unfortunately it is a story that's out there. There are people that are suggesting that he could well return. Septic, I think we should bring back Jeff Hurst. He might be fitter than Antonio. Colin, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. You're saying hello to you, Hammerette. Angus, we should have bought a decent striker in the summer. I guess we'll now have to hang on until the end. Let me just do something let me do that. I've just sent some 5 people are going to be lucky to get a free membership for the channel. We should have bought a decent striker in the summer. I guess we'll now have to hang on until the mid-season with Fullkrug and the 2 Callums, which mightn't be so bad. There's options, So let me get on to that once I've gone through a few of the comments. Good evening, Josh. I hope you're well. I don't think getting Antonio back is an option for the board. It'll make them look even more incapable. For their image alone, I doubt they'll do it, but it wouldn't surprise me. That's a good shout. That's a good shout. That what the board might think it might be thought of. They're already going through quite hard times, as we know at this moment in time. I'm not on about not hard times in cash wise, but with all the board out protests at the moment, it's a good point that it would make them look rather daft. Good evening to you, West Ham Wookie. How are you? I hope you're well. Galispero to you, Steve. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, the special one. We have the special one in tonight. Look at that beautiful man. West Ham top goal scorer in Premier League European history. Aaron, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I thought you were talking about me for a minute there. Harry, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. The special one again, the man who led the line for the first trophy for West Ham United in nearly 50 years, and he's your favourite, Toha. I'm okay, but trying to get hold of my mother who's gone into her shell. So, mate, I hope everything is all right. Wish you and wish her well. Andy, mate, I hope you're well. Good morning, good evening, good morning to you from New Zealand. Wassa, I remember from the email that you sent me, and thank you for doing that. Good evening to you, Wassa. I hope you're well. Stephen, good evening, mate. How are you? Good evening to you, Stan. How are you? Thank you for joining. Housefly, Sullivan and Brady out. There'll be a show coming up about that in the next few days. Gary, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Gary, thank you for gifting those 5 memberships. Max, good evening, mate. You got on the phone tonight, so I can actually talk. Hope you are well. Got you on the phone tonight, so welcome, Max. I really appreciate it, and thank you for joining. Adam, good evening, mate. Please not Antonio, no disrespect, but anyone who's watched him for the under-21s can see he's miles off playing in the Premier League. That's a really good shout as well, and I have watched a little bit of that, and I do make you right there. Rupert, good evening. I hope you're well. Maybe it's time for Wilson to shine. Wilshire. I've got crop players on my mind, haven't I? Colin, good evening to you, mate. To all you wonderful ladies and gents, always a pleasure joining. Always a pleasure to have you here, mate. All the Georgie. I should understand that, but I don't understand that because I'm a bit slow up there sometimes. Good evening, Danny boy. How are you? Keep strong. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Who else have we got here? Phil, bring on Big Sam and Antonio. What more could you want? Harry, mate, seriously, thank you. Throw this in there. Thank you so much. You don't make it. Can I have your slippers? That's funny. Paul, no chance. Why would we want him? And 8, can't believe that even our board will not go there. Well, no, I'm not saying the board is saying this, but this is a story that's out there at this moment in time. Oh, we're talking about Frank Lampard there now. Sorry. Young Lampard, old man, was a hero of mine. Daniela, it's a shame how young Frank is treated by the fans. He did get badly treated, didn't he? I've got to admit, he went on to prove us all wrong, didn't he? Usual. This club is going backwards at this rate. It wouldn't surprise me to ask Noble to lace his boots up again. Who else have we got here? Phil, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. From what I've heard about Antonio's efforts in the under-21s, he's not the answer for our striker problems. Darren, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Heard some villains all hyped up, ready to kick ass. Nice to hear. Yeah, and I got to admit, I did put that story out, and I got it wrong. And I hold my hand up and say I did get it wrong. I went with it, didn't I? And I was absolutely wrong to have gone with it. Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. All tackled up. Good evening, mate. I do hope Antonio is not coming back. We have to let go. Imagine if you're Callum Marshall, how long before he thinks I need to move on? As just not getting a chance. Another decent shout there. You do forgive me. I can't put up every comment. I do try, but I'll try and get through as many as I can. Frog, under-21s are the pride of the club these days, in my opinion. You know what? I think we've got a lot of good under-21 players. It's just, it's getting them to that next level. Can they all achieve it? We all heard that Lewis Orford was training with the senior England squad. last week, which is fantastic for the boy. I know he's just gone out to Stevenage, and people are saying, "Oh well, yeah, Potter didn't see anything in him, but Tuchel did." Look, now I got told off when I put that comment out that it was Bowen and Rice who suggested Lewis Orford to Tuchel, and someone said, "Leave off, don't be silly. It'd have been the under-20s coaches who would have recommended him." And I think that's a fair point as well. But we do have some good youngsters, but can they make the mark? That's the thing. Can they make the step up? Good evening to you, Stan. I hope you're well. Antonio Hammerit is not looking good in the under-21s by all accounts. Definitely way past the Premier League player. He was borderline before his accident, in my opinion. Wish him well, but not in claret and blue again. We need progression. Natasha, Tash, good evening to you. I think we will give Tottenham a good game. I think better give Tottenham a effing spanking, I say. Montana, does that loss count on us? What loss? You see that so far behind, I don't know what you're talking about now. So you're going to have to elaborate. Ibrahim, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. If Fabianski comes in, then they might resign Antonio for the homegrown. They might re-sign Antonio for the homegrown quota. That's an interesting shout. See, there might be legs in the Antonio and the Fabianski story after all. And you've just made a great point there, Ibrahim. If we lose Foderingham because of the homegrown tally, you bring Antonio in for the homegrown tally. Oh, God. How many old people can we get in one squad? Frog, having an ex-spud on board to complement the other vegetables would be novel. Oh, what? I did put out quite a cheeky post suggesting what would you say if Daniel Levy bought the Gold's 25% shares? What would happen? What would happen to the West Ham fan base if Daniel Levy bought the Gold family's 25.1% stake in West Ham United? I want your answers, actually. I want to know, what would you think if Daniel Levy bought the Gold's shares and became a shareholder at West Ham alongside Sully? Fucking hell. Ibrahim, yeah, I've been to a few women's games and the quality is pretty good. The vibes are very family friendly at games. Nice one, mate. Appreciate you doing that. Rich, you've liked the smash button. Please do become a subscriber. Please hit the like button. It helps the algorithms of this channel. Thank you, Steve. Honestly, I'm not asking you guys for donations, but thank you so much, and to Harry as well for having made those donations. Really, really appreciate it. Hammer, get yourself signed up for the voice membership, guys and ladies. Content is also in support of Prostate Can. Thank you very much for doing that, Hammer, as well. The special one. Do people realize the window's closed and we have no attacking options? It's closed, but we can sign freebies. We can sign players who are free agents. Graham, I fly back to Canada on Saturday morning. I've got a wonderful trip. Stay well. Nice one. I hope you've had a great... Message me. Tell me which parts of Spain you've been to, because there's some beautiful places around there. Who else have we got here? E. Davis. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Just play Souček as a 9 if we need to. He can finish and win duels in the air. That's a good shout. And that's not an option that I was thinking about, but thank you for that. Marcus Leonardo is apparently available and free if we are interested in. I'm going to write that down because I'm not going to lie to you. Marcus Leonardo. I've not heard of that, so I'm going to look into that. Hammerit. See what some are saying about Souček's ability for the Czech side. Does not make for good reading. They feel he offers nothing anymore. They want to see what James Ward-Prowse is like. Good evening to you, Yuha. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Ibrahim. If wing-backs are putting crosses into the box, then I wouldn't mind Souček being on the end of them. Epic, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. What's the story behind the draw against Watford? Was it 5 ATP? I don't understand that. It was an 11-a-side game, 1-1 draw. Preston Fearon scored the goal. Guilherme got half an hour. I tried to work out from all the players who weren't on international duty what the starting lineup might have been, and I've come up with that. I've got no clue if that's accurate or not, but we know we've got 10 senior players out on international duty at the moment. So Potter drafted in a number of youngsters. I think Ezra Myers may have been there, maybe Mohamedou Kante. Preston Fearon definitely was there because he scored the equalising goal. And that was the lineup I've sort of come up with, just on the mere basis that those players didn't go on international duty. Obsidian, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I see Levy is being linked. I'm blaming. I don't think he is being linked. And I came up with a really cheeky, what would you do if? Oh, God, that would be rather odd, wouldn't it? To have him linked. Thank you, Rich. Much appreciated, mate. So nice of you. Thank you so much. What would you do? Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put out a what have we got here? A starter poll. Daniel Levy as a what do they call him? Daniel Levy at West Ham. Yes or no? Poll started. You tell me. Would you want him or would you not want him as someone to be a stakeholder of West Ham United? Are we forgetting we are coming off a 3-0 win at Forest? Absolutely not. I'm looking forward to Saturday. I've missed a couple of games because I was away. I'm going to miss a couple of games in a few weeks' time as well. And I can't wait for Saturday to come. Bloody atmosphere better be good, I'll tell you. But then we need something to cheer, don't we? Montana, I'd have Levy over Dwarf any day. Way more ambitious than those clowns we have as a board. Interesting. Special one. Somerville still needs easing in. I'd be promoting Ajala and using him as a left-wing option to alleviate the workload from Somerville. Ajala's interesting. I don't know if he's out injured because I don't think he's been playing much for the under-21s lately. I like Ajala, though. I think he's a good player. Stan, met young Frank a few times, was completely complimentary about West Ham. Pity we're not complimentary about him, though. Sai, how are you, mate? I'm a bit late to this. Been chatting to Japan on 40 minutes. You've been chatting to Japan. I do not understand that, but I hope the chat went well, mate. Obsidian, have you seen Antonio in the under-21s? He's being bullied by kids. He's done, I'm sorry to say. Daniela, still the Somerville story proves you shouldn't believe everything you see or hear in social media. What did I always used to say? Don't believe everything you see and hear. And then I fell for it myself. Who else have we got here? Special one, Ajala is a similar profile to Rashford, tall, lean striker, shone at youth level, who is better suited to playing wise at high level. I like Ajala, I absolutely do. I know he smashed it last season. I don't know what's happened to him because Landers has been playing for the under-21s of late, and I don't know if Ajala is injured or not. I need to check that out. Martin, good evening to you. I hope you're well. West Ham Wookie, if he bought them, he would be the same effect at crossing the streams in Ghostbusters. If he brought them, it would be the same effect at crossing the streams in Ghostbusters. I'm lost again. I don't understand what you're saying. You need to explain. Salama, what's going on with Daniel Cummins? He's injured. He's getting over, I think it was a shoulder operation, I think he had, or something like that. So he's still he's still recovering from that. He'll be back fairly soon. Montana. Hammerette just goes to show Amanda Staveley has been looking to buy a club, but never been linked to us once. Well, there was talk about Amanda Staveley, I think, today. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Staveley would be not a bad choice, really. Would she? 25, buying the gold shares, 25%. Maybe, if Kretinsky, let's take a scenario. If Kretinsky is not happy with the way things are going on, but hasn't got any influence over Sullivan because Sullivan's got 38% shares and Kretinsky only 27%. Imagine if someone like Staveley came in and bought the 25% and sided with Kretinsky. Could they then do something about Sullivan and the way he runs the club? Well, it's possible. I like the sound of Staveley. Probably much more Stavely, not Staveley. Probably much more than Daniel Levy. That's the question I should have asked. Staveley or Levy? Stephen, would you see Jose Mourinho taking the West Ham job? Poster got sacked? No, absolutely 100%. I wouldn't see that happening. I just don't think Sully wouldn't sign a manager like that. I doubt it very, very much. Sean, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Successful week in the FPL for me. Didn't lose any ground. Fatakis, Kalispera to you, mate. I hope you're well. Antonio on the bench when needed. I don't know. John, good evening, mate. Mikos Soblota is available. You're just winding me up, mate, aren't you? I'm glad I didn't pronounce that correctly. Otherwise, I would have got in trouble. If he promised to pull the stadium down, Paul, to get Levy in, Trudge Levy in, and then John Levy, no effing way, and nil. And so imagine these people. I mean, being linked. It's a mind f, isn't it? Levy, Antonio. I mean, Fabianski. I mean, what's going on? Nil. Antonio may as well sign Tammy Gray Thompson, more mobile and homegrown. Ted, Amanda Staveley and the consortium have been looking at West Ham. I've read it. Well, no, they were looking at Spurs, and they made a bid for Spurs, and it's been turned down. And apparently now Staveley has walked away from any further bids at Spurs, is my understanding. Now, whether she would actually now turn to West Ham with interest, do you know what? I think that would be a very, very interesting story indeed, to be honest with you. Very interesting. Would I prefer her over Levy? Yes, I probably would. So she did all right at Newcastle Staveley, didn't she? I don't think anyone was found complaining when she was there. Of course, and then she built it up and then sold it on and made a hell of a lot of money. Staveley at West Ham? Why not indeed? Why not? Josh, I would take Levy. Weirdly enough, I look at the infrastructure at Spurs and I'm a little envious, as long as he wasn't in charge of transfers. I don't think he would be as interested, would he, in transfers as Sullivan always seems to be. Hamret, I wonder what Kretinsky thinks all about this. I've always said, whilst he's earning the money, whilst he's making good amount of money in the background, he's just going to sit there and hold tight. And if and when he thinks he's ready to sell, now this would be interesting. Staveley takes over. She takes the 25% shares. And then Kretinsky decides to sell up. She takes those as well. All of a sudden, you've got a new owner of West Ham United. Is Staveley rich enough? And the consortium she's got together, well, if they're making bids for Spurs, I guess the consortium would be rich enough. Now, there's your answer to Kretinsky. Maybe Kretinsky's waiting for the right moment and Staveley is going 25%. That's the first push into West Ham United. Kretinsky owns 27%. I buy that. There's your 52% ownership of West Ham. Hey, make West Ham great again. Free agent Patrick Bamford seen in ABBA Voyage in Pudding Mill Lane. Coincidence or this is our new striker? Here we go in Fremer, on behalf of my country, I apologise for making Dinos look like a mug. Denmark battered Greece 3-0 away just now. Damn. And I was just about to say Dinos has been doing really well away on the internationals. Gary, I kind of don't care what Kretinsky thinks. He hasn't done anything for us. He's siphoning money out of the club, same as Sully and Brady. He's making money. Make no mistake, he is making money. And whilst it continues to make money for him, he'll sit tight. Steve, would love Staveley. Look what she did at the Toon, bringing the Saudis in. Oh, fucking hell. This is gathering momentum, isn't it? I'm getting excited just sitting here thinking about it. Good evening, Darren. I hope you're well, mate. Is it true fans is coming back and is it true Fabianski's coming back? Somerville injury sounds like rubbish. Talked about Fabianski. Don't know. I think it's quite interesting, but I did talk about, if Foderingham leaves, it means the homegrown may be affected, although we haven't got a full 25-man squad. So maybe that might not be such a big issue. I don't know if it's true, Darren. Talked about it a little earlier on. I'm not so sure. Who else we got? Evening, Leslie. How are you, mate? Good evening to you, Charles. How are you? What do we think about the Brit? Well, you're the second one that's asked that, and I'm embarrassed enough to say I didn't know anything about it until Pete mentioned it. So I will look at this and do a quick show about Leonardo, probably for tomorrow morning. I bumped into Amanda in Fortnum, usual. I bumped into Amanda Staveley in Fortnum and Mason. We discussed West Ham, and she's very interested. I don't know whether to believe you or not, in all honesty, usual. I'm going to say I'm not going to believe you, but my apologies if you actually did talk to her. Now, why would she stop and talk about West Ham? I mean, come on, Frog. If Sullivan was more like Kretinsky and kept his beak out, it would help. It would help indeed. Neil, I thought Staveley was more of a figurehead at the Barcodes takeover. Rumor up there, she was basically forced out of Newcastle. That I don't know. You know what? I'm intrigued enough to actually look into this. Let's write that down as well so I don't forget, because my memory is like a sieve. So I'm going to do a show about Staveley. I'm going to look into her past and see what happened at Newcastle. And I'm also going to talk about this lad, Leonardo, because I know nothing about him either. Hammer it. I heard Staveley couldn't compete with the money being spent. Don't know if true. Well, you can't compete. Well, even now they've got the richest owners of club football. They still can't spend their money, the Saudis, can they? Gary, I really don't want the Americans to buy out West Ham. That's the one I fear, to be honest with you. I'm not so sure I want the Americans to buy out West Ham either. Salama, we should promote more young lads in the first team, because before the likes of Man City come knocking, Man City only came knocking in order to boost their homegrown numbers, mate, and then make money on the player that they got from us. Nil, because they're not playing for, even if they do come and sign them up. Some suggested she has taken out loans to put up her stake. Oh, I'm intrigued. See, I wish I'd prepared for this now, and I feel embarrassed that I didn't. All tackled up. The German, Wilson, Antonio, combined age of 100 plus. Might as well rename us Stratford Retirement Home United. Gart, I'm watching well behind. I think we've about 20-man Premier League squad plus under 21s. 8 are homegrown, so we have no worries about who we sign to increase the squad. No, I think you're right. It is about 20. I said that earlier on, and I think it is currently about 8 homegrown. But if Foderingham left, mind you, we haven't got a full 25-man squad. So even if Foderingham left, we still got capacity to only have, say 7 homegrowns. Trodge, but if Daredevil can guide a club up the league, anything can happen, I guess. Right, let's go into the next part of the show, which is all about internationals and what we're going to do with our front line. Because, of course, we've all heard that Niklas Fullkrug, yet again, on international duty, has picked up a knock. Now, this happened exactly the same time last year. Niklas Fullkrug in the September international break picked up a knock, and we were told initially minor. We were told this time last year he'll only be out for a couple of weeks. We were told 3 months later, people were asking, whoops, shouldn't have put him on. Wait 1 second. 3 months later, we were asking, Fullkrug who? Because he was gone for that long. Now, I really, really, really hope that the stories out at this moment in time are that it's a minor calf injury and no more than that. Now, a minor calf injury would normally take about 2 weeks to recover from, give or take. That means he's definitely going to be out for the Spurs game. He may not make the Crystal Palace game. He may be back thereafter. If it's any worse, he may not return until after the October international break, which means he won't be back till mid to late October. And if it's any worse than that, he may not be back before Christmas. Now, I really, really hope Niklas Fullkrug, his injury is minor as has been suggested, and that he's only out for a couple of weeks. But let's see what happens there. But it's so typical of West Ham United, isn't it? The transfer window shuts, international break comes, and of course, we've got that jinx. Every time an international break comes, we lose a player because of injury. Now, we all bemoan the fact that we've not got enough cover in attack, but have we not? Have we not? I would argue that we don't have out-and-out strikers. We've only got Callum Wilson, and for those of you who've just seen it, you know, Callum Wilson is available. Many people were lauding his game against Nottingham Forest the other week. You know, they said he was fantastic when he came on. His movement was superb. He looked strong. He looked fit. But of course, Callum Wilson, his injury record is as bad as Niklas Fullkrug's one. So if Callum Wilson got injured as well, then what then? because that's the thing that we all worry about. Yeah, and that's the thing that we are right to worry about. Niklas Fullkrug, we know he's injury prone. Callum Wilson, we know he's injury prone. Let's say, for argument's sake, Niklas Fullkrug is out for longer than just a couple of weeks, and then, knowing our luck, Callum Wilson then picks up a knock. Well, the next player available that's going to go up front is obvious. It's Jarrod Bowen, and many fans, and I totally get it, and I totally understand it. Many fans will turn around and say, "This is not what we want." However, what it will offer options. I'm not advocating for Bowen to play up front if Wilson picks up a knock as well as Fullkrug, but it does offer us options. It offers us an option to play, for example, Guilherme on the right-hand side of attack and have Somerville on the left-hand side as an example. Callum Marshall is another option that can either play up front or he can play on the right side of attack. Now, when it comes to Antonio, in all honesty, I don't want him back because I think we've got youngsters that need to demonstrate that they can do it in the Premier League. Callum Marshall, I was actually really, really surprised he wasn't sent out on loan this summer. I really thought he was going to be sent out on loan. He did exceptionally well for Huddersfield. It was Huddersfield in League One. And I thought maybe this season he would go out on loan to a championship team. So I was impressed, surprised that Callum Marshall has been included in the senior national squad. In the senior West Ham squad. And if you're going to be looking forward, I'm going to lay my cards on the table. I don't want Antonio to come back. In all honesty, I think I go further than what some of you guys have said. I was talking about Antonio being kind of done at West Ham United 2 seasons ago. Well, before he had his car accident, I was suggesting 2 years ago that I thought it was time that we moved on from Antonio, that he was losing the power he had, he was losing his momentum, and we've been needing to get a young striker for the best part of 3 or 4 years, and the players that we had who were young strikers, we kind of ruined and we wasted. We didn't use them in the right way. And we've relied on David Moyes, just relied on Antonio again, season after season after season. And it surprised me that he even after Moyes, he was continued to be looked at as, the main striker. And then he had his car accident, of course. And, getting Fullkrug in was, I don't want to say it was a mistake, but it's looking like one. Getting Fullkrug in didn't seem the right thing to do. And I thought we were going to get a striker in this summer transfer window. It didn't happen. Then that means that we've got a couple of strikers that we've got to take a chance on. I've already mentioned Callum Marshall. I think now is his time. He's out on international duty with the Northern Ireland senior team. He's getting game time. He's not starting, but he's getting game time. And we saw how good he was during pre-season. He looked quite lively. He looked like he's got energy. He's got pace on him. So he's one player that I think we should be looking at as a very, very possible. So if we'd have bought a striker, Callum Marshall would have definitely been loaned out. So at least now this is his opportunity to turn around and say, I'm here. Why not use me? Why not give me a chance? Now, it could be that someone like Jarrod Bowen might start up top. This is if Wilson goes out injured as well, and if Fullkrug's injury is worse than we were first told. Now, if Bowen starts up front, then why not have someone like Marshall to come in for the last 10, 15 minutes of a game and then see what he can do? We've also got young Josh Landers. Now, I know someone mentioned about Ajala, and I would put him in, but I just don't know what's going on with him at the moment. So I'm going to do a bit of research and find out what's happening with Ajala. But Josh Landers, we picked him up from Hibernian, from the under-18s in Hibernian, and he has been smashing it for the under-18s and the under-21s. Now, first of all, Daniel Cummings, by the way, yes, we did get him in from Celtic, but he's recovering from an operation, so he won't be back for some time. But this young lad, Josh Landers, is a very, very interesting proposition. Have I got his stats down? Of course, I haven't got his stats, but I can. Oh, here we go. Now, since he joined West Ham, which was the beginning of this calendar year, if I remember correctly. He's an under 21. He's now playing for the under 21s. He's a big lad. He's strong. And this year, he's made quite an impact since joining West Ham. In 12 appearances for the under 18s, he scored 9 goals. And so far, in 5 appearances for the under 21s, he scored 2 goals already. He's representing Scotland under 19s as well, where he scored in midweek as well. And I think he's interesting. I think he's one of these players where out of nowhere, he could become a player that we really, could just elevate himself. And let's not forget, we've had youngsters before, who have come in because of injuries, who were given their opportunity, and certain players took their opportunities really well. Tony Cottee, came into the side because of injuries. So someone like Landers or someone like Callum Marshall, I think will be good shouts. I don't think we should be looking at the past. With the greatest of respect to Antonio, and many of you have been saying you've been watching him in the under 21s, and he doesn't look like he's been hacking it there. So how on earth is going to? I mean, ironically, he's still in the Jamaica squad. He didn't actually get to play the other day in the Jamaican squad, but he's still being picked for national duty as well, or international duty as well. But I don't think he's the answer for me, and I know fans are upset that we haven't got strikers in, but that means it gives our academy. You can't have it both ways. I mean, we get fans that go, give the young players a chance. And, why didn't we go out and buy a player? If you go out and buy a player, it means one young player doesn't get their chance. By not buying a striker, I'm not saying it was the right thing not to buy a striker. Please don't get me wrong. I think we should have done. But that means you buy a striker, you buy a young striker, and it means the likes of Callum Marshall wouldn't get a chance now. There's an opportunity now for Callum Marshall. We got Wilson almost definitely going to start up front against Spurs. Bowen and probably play out on the right, but you'll have Marshall on the bench. And quite possibly, when Wilson is blown out of his arse, you might get Marshall coming on, to either replace Bowen on the right-hand side or replace Wilson up front. So I think, yes, I understand fans being upset that we didn't go out and buy another striker, but at the same time, it gives our young players an opportunity to shine. So let's see what happens there. It's going to be interesting to see how things develop. Now, in terms of international duty, I did a show yesterday on Sunday which talked about Jared Bowen and his chances in the England squad. I was quite honest, and I said now with Bukayo Saka currently injured, it looks like Bowen has been brought in as a shoo-in, and when Saka's back, it looks like Noni Madueke is going to become the backup to Saka, which means that there may not be a place in the World Cup squad next year for Jared Bowen. I hope I'm proved wrong on Tuesday night. Serbia play England away. England play Serbia away from home, and I hope that Jared Bowen has been saved for that game, because if he doesn't get to start, or if he doesn't get to come on the pitch at any time, then I think that might be it for Bowen's international career. I don't know. Tell me what you think of that. Actually, let's stop the end that poll. So do I do another poll about, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do another poll, but I'm going to ask you a different question to buy out. Who would you prefer? Stavely. If I can. Stavely or, come on, Stel. Stavely or Levy. There you go. There's that poll started. Now, what was the result of the other one? The other poll. Daniel Levy at West Ham. 69% said no, and 31% said yes. So that was 126 votes, of which you said Daniel Levy at West Ham. 69% said no. So I'm guessing I know what the answer is going to be for the next poll. But I'm going to do a poll about Bowen and his England chances after I do the Stavely poll and see what you say about that. I don't know. I'm worried about Bowen and his England future. But let's see what happens. Other players on international duty. Lucas Paqueta is back with Brazil, and he made his mark last week where he scored one of the 3 goals that Brazil scored. Who did they play? I can't remember. Chile, I think it was. But he was involved, and well done to him. And he's got a massive smile on his face at the moment. Fernandes, he captained the under-21 Portuguese team, and they did really well last week, where they smashed Matthias Fernandes. They smashed Azerbaijan 5-0, and it was good. I've got to be honest, he looked really good at the Forest game, and this is going to boost his confidence even more. There's a young man, Gabriel Caliste, who plays for the under 18s, I think. 18-year-old Gabriel Caliste represented Mauritius in a senior game. He played 77 minutes of the 2-0 defeat against Cape Verde. Finley Herrick and Lewis Orford were both in the side against Italy, the under-20s Italy, England against Italy, where they lost 2-1. And as I've said earlier on, Orford was also training with the England senior squad, so well done to him. Other players who have been on international duty. Aridas Golombek is our centre-back, represented England under-19s. He made his debut as a second-half sub in the 2-0 win over Ukraine, and then was back in action again at the weekend, where he started in the game 3-3 draw against Spain. A number of other players, Lonray Owesu, the goalkeeper under England under-18s. He played the full 90 minutes in their 4-1 win over Morocco. Josh Landers, who I've already mentioned, played for Scotland under-19s, where he scored the goal but lost 2-1 to Kazakhstan. So we've got a lot of players who are out on international duty, and a lot of players that seem to be having quite a good time of it, apart from Jared Bowen. Right. Let's go into your comments and see what else you have to say. Let's scroll down. John, any more American owners in the Premier League and we'll be having timeouts, 2-minute warnings, and no relegation. And this is my concern, John, because the minute they get the sway, the minute they get the majority vote, they will be able to start voting things like this in. Trodge, Achilles, apparently it's calf. But last year it turned out to be his Achilles. So let's see. Charles, I think we have more of a chance of Flatley rather than Stavely. The special one. I'm looking at free agents market for centre forwards. It's pretty grim. You are absolutely correct. Paul, maybe get a petition up, send it to Elon Musk. He build us a new ground, state-of-the-art training complex, decent kits, and a competitive team. No thanks. I'm hoping you're joking. Glenn, I thought Wilson was going to nick my Kit Kat out of my hand. Hammerette, was this what the friendly? Did you go to that? Couldn't have. It was behind closed doors. Where was he trying to nick your Kit Kat out of your hand? Hammerette, I'm sorry that I missed your family news. Togs, I hope you're okay. Togs, whatever's happening with your family, mate, the best of wishes to you. Harry, I saw there was a consortium of Danny Dyer, Rain Winston, Russell Brand, Chesney Hawkes, Chris Kabusi, Todd Carty, and the £1 fish man looking at putting in a bid to buy the Hammers. Yeah. I think Levy's got more chance. Darren, hope the rest of them, Bowen, Dinos, etc., come back unscathed. Hate the international break. Dean Ashton, say no more. There was a suggestion that we have we have a month of international football, so it doesn't interfere with domestic football. I like that idea. Special one. The Leonardo people are referencing looks more like an attacking midfielder rather than centre forward. I'm going to look into this and let you know. Toha, if you want to be brought back into the fold, my brother took his... Oh, mate, still in a sense of shock. Mate, sounds like you're going through it, and my deepest condolences to you. Hamret, I really don't want to see Bowen shoehorned up front again. He can do a job, but I kind of agree with you. Rich, Scotty scored in his debut, age 17, was there. There you go. That's why our youngsters maybe you never know. Neil, so sick of the current turds running the club. Staveley would still probably be an improvement. Even Liz Truss will probably be a step up. That's pushing it, mate. Salama. Good night to you, mate. Got to go to bed midnight over here in South Africa. Thank you for joining, mate. Really, really appreciated. Usual, I'm meeting Amanda at Claridge's tomorrow. I'll keep you updated. Now I know you're taking the piss. You are genuinely at Claridge's tomorrow. You're going to look out for him, are you? Steve, I hope Marshall gets some minutes this year. Played around 15 minutes last night against Germany. Can only get better. Trudge, handsome Callum is more towards the Downs end of the scale. You like Downs, don't you? Good evening, Steve. Stell, sorry I'm late. Got caught in John. No problem, mate. Thank you for joining. Much appreciated. E. Davis. Antonio is on my shit list. He's very obviously took for granted the club's support after his accident. We offered him a contract. Not enough for him, though. Yeah. Look, I think we did the right thing with Antonio. And sometimes sentiment comes into it when sentiment shouldn't. And we've got this knack of, as West Ham fans, we are a bit like that sometimes. Sometimes we're calling out for keep the player. And when we know sometimes it's better to let the player go. With Antonio, I think he was offered, the deal that he was offered was the same deal that was offered to Callum Wilson. A pay as you play, deal, if you score a goal, you get a bonus. If you get on the subs bench, you get a bonus. If you start, you get a bonus and all that malarkey. Antonio didn't think it was good enough for him. Well, I'm sorry to say, and he talked about that there were other offers on the table. Shouldn't have said that, Michail, because I know we all knew you were bluffing, which is the unfortunate thing. And now he's playing for the under-21s in the hope that he might get. I don't think West Ham United. I saw a comment from someone at the club who said, Antonio, no, we don't think he'll be able to. After the accident, we don't think he'll be able to keep up with the rigors of the Premier League football. And I agree with that. I don't think he can, and it would be sentimental to give him a contract over sense, really. And as we've just discussed over the last few minutes, we should be giving our youngsters an opportunity now. Ted, been watching Antonio for the under-21s. He's not doing much apart from getting fit. But for me, he's finished. Special one, Idrissa Gueye looked extremely good value. I would have been all over that. Below 15 mil, punt money. Yeah, I don't know why we didn't go for a striker. I'm, and then the whole thing about Potter saying that we didn't need one. Charles, I give Marshall the start, then bring on Wilson for the last half hour. But if Marshall's having a blinder of a game, give him the full 90 minutes. Interesting. I don't think that will happen. I think it'll be the other way round. But I get why you'd want Wilson on as a good impact sub. Absolutely. Darren, Wilson up front for an hour against the Spuds, then bring Marshall on. See, there's two ways of looking at this. Gary, Toho, I'm sorry to hear that. My best friend took his life in 2011. Such a hard thing to cope with. My heart goes out to you and your family. Heart goes out to you, Toho, from all us West Ham fans, mate. Sean, that Bristol City striker is out of contract. Can't remember his name. Now I don't know. See, now you're going to get me thinking, aren't you? Trudge, Marshall is my great hope. He isn't pacey or strong. He's got a bit of pace on him from what I saw in pre-season. Just feel he's got some magic in his boots. Look out for Josh Landers. Look out for Josh Ajala as well. That's the special one mentioned earlier on. We've got some good strikers coming through. Maybe this is the season where one or two of them, and of course Daniel Cummins coming back from injury as well, or from an operation. There are some options there. Septic Landers isn't good enough yet. I watched him in the under-21s the other day. See, everyone's got an opinion. I'm not saying mine is the right one. I just think Landers looks interesting. I think he looks strong. He looks like the sort of. He immediately reminded me, rightly or wrongly, of a young Liam Delap. And I know Liam Delap is young, but just his sort of style of play. I might be wrong, though. Let's go finish that poll. End the poll. So the poll is, which would you prefer? Staveley or Levy? 92% for Staveley. Right, I'm going to do another poll. I'm going to ask you what you think of, how do I word this now? Bowen, England. Will he make the World Cup squad? Bowen, England, will he make the World Cup? Tell me what you think. Will Bowen make the World Cup squad? Daniela, Israel 4, Italy 5 with 2 own goals, Italian defense. So the Italians scored 7 of the 9 goals. Strange game. See, when I do these shows, I can't watch the football. Finn, Free agent Dimitri Payet spotted buying Munjaro from Boots East Ham High Street. Finn, good evening, mate. Dimitri Payet spotted. You've done that twice. You caught me out twice. Wassa, we need to take a chance with the young lads. Hammerett, Gio made a good point the other day. As nice as it is to allow Antonio to find his fitness with this academy, but he takes a forward role away from their development. That is true. That is true. Every time he plays, it means either Ajala or Landers or any other striker doesn't get to play. Yeah, fair enough. Unless, of course, they're brought into the senior squad. And then they do get to play. No, but Gio's right. AJ, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Being realistic, these youth prospects aren't going to make it here. Potter or any other manager would look for signings and wasting money as the effective move, even though it's obvious we should use. I don't know if it's obvious, AJ, to be really honest with you. I don't know if it's obvious. And I did say this in the last show I did. When it came to, we've signed Magassa, 21 years of age. We signed Diouf, 20 years of age. We've signed Fernandez, 21 years of age. And I asked the question, does that mean that the players that we're signing around that sort of age are better than our academy players? There could be that. There could be that. And I'm looking at Marshall. I'm looking at Potts. I'm disappointed that Potts is not getting more game time. But I'm looking at Marshall. I'm looking at Potts. I'm looking at Earthy now that he's back from, he's recovered from his injury. And I'm asking myself, will any of those players get decent game time? Or will it continue to be Magassa now that he's available? Will it continue to be Diouf? Will it continue to be Fernandez? Will it continue to be Guilherme now that he's back from his injury? Does it suggest that the players that we bought, the young players, does it suggest that they're better than our academy players? There could be that point, so I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think, mate, that they're good enough to use, but I do wonder whether they are. I want to see up front. We've got an opportunity now. I want to see up front. I want to see Callum Marshall used. Will he be used? I hope he does, but I'm just not sure. Septic. People are unrealistic about the youngsters in general. Well, is that the point that what I've just made? Do you think the same, or are you thinking differently to that? John would like to see Callum Marshall get some minutes, but he's not ready yet. We could be pushing him too quickly. That's an interesting point. Well, he's in, isn't he? He's in the squad. So maybe if we've got Fullkrug out for a while, does that give Marshall an opportunity to play 10, 15 minutes? Good evening to you, Lee. I hope you're well. Ultra, good evening to you. Levy at West Ham would be good, actually. He's a great businessman. Who else have we got? Sean, Staveley, Levy, or the world's third richest man who owns Paris FC? Yes, Paris FC, who we bought another player from recently. They've got money to burn, haven't they? Ooh. Neil, being Irish, the England performance was amusing. Tuchel is simply a German Southgate. Boring as hell. Bone is too good for Tuchel. There you go. Kim Joe, get the Brazilian striker, from the Saturday. You're the third person that said that. So I've got to look into it now, haven't I? Excuse me. Josh, personally, I think Bone hasn't got a chance anymore. I've been thinking for a long time that Bone would make a big impact in the World Cup. But the reality is there are big six players in his way. And this is the story I did yesterday. This is a show I did yesterday. I said, is he wearing the wrong club shirt in order to get a look in for England? And Madueke, is he that much better? I put stats up yesterday and I compared Madueke with Bowen. Bowen, hands down, throughout the league last season, hands down, was miles better than Madueke. It's going to be interesting to see what Tuchel does tomorrow night against Serbia, whether Jared Bowen either starts or gets game time. If Jared Bowen doesn't start and he doesn't get game time, I think his England career is done. Brian, hello to you, mate. This Bowen, I think Bowen will start in the game tomorrow. He must prove himself. I believe he will. He also must have a Bowen-type season, and he will get called to the World Cup. I hope he does. Trodge, Bowen playing for England doesn't really benefit. I know that, but come on, it gives him a boost. When a player plays for his national side, it gives them a lift. It gives them, of course, unless his name is Fullkrug and then their leg is shattered, but it gives them a leg up, doesn't it? It gives them a boost, when they come back to their club side. Ted, Bowen didn't come on the other night. He's got no chance tomorrow night. He's got no chance tomorrow night. Trodge, same as Antonio, decided to fly to international matches. That was, I mean, sometimes, and I've always said, I don't deny a player, wanting to represent their national team. I don't deny him that. Antonio took his opportunity, but it hurt him when he came back from international duty. Steve, this is Bowen's last chance to play at the World Cup. It is indeed. He'll be 29 when the World Cup is on next year. If he doesn't start tomorrow, I'll be worried for him. I agree. Daniela, I'm sure I met Levy when he was in his 20s in the 1980s in a Basildon Mr. Byright shop. Was my first job. Not sure on both. You're not sure you worked in Mr. Byright's, or you're not sure it was Daniel Levy, or you're not sure it was in the 1980s. Robert, Red Bull to buy gold shares. I'd love to think that would happen, but I'm not sure it will, to be quite honest with you. But I'd love to think that would happen. David, have we watched Antonio for the under-21s? I'm afraid Josh Landers is leagues better. It says a lot about Antonio, doesn't it? Glenn, Ashton was wearing Shearer and Sheringham in the same body. Steve, Ashton, our last real striker. Ashton was Shearer. Sorry, I completely misunderstood that, which I laughed and I shouldn't have done. Ashton was Shearer and Sheringham in the same body. Should have laughed at that. Steve, Ashton was our last real striker. Gutted Lanzini, also ruined on international duty. Brian, as an American Hammer supporter, I do not want American owners. Many reasons why, but most importantly, they do not understand or care about the West Ham way. Yeah, I agree. For that reason and the many other reasons why you get a tip of too many American owners, they can determine how Premier League will be, how it can turn out. They can vote for things that we wouldn't like. And it won't just be West Ham will suffer. It'd be English football that will suffer. Flyfox. The ultimate irony with Antonio is that he couldn't get dislodged from the team by anyone but himself. That's the irony. I would say that was because Moyes favoured him over anybody else. He got rid of Hilaire because of him. He got rid of the Italian. I can't remember his name now because of, let's be really honest, people, with the greatest of respect to Antonio, Hilaire and the Italian were better strikers than Antonio was. They were better strikers. Salama, Pac-Man might be our biggest seller. He will be. He's got a year left on his contract when this season ends. What we'll do is we'll trigger the option that we've got to bring it back to 2 years, and then we'll sell him for a profit. Absolutely. Don't disagree. Hammer it. If we fans could see that not bringing in another striker and relying on two old injury-prone ones was a massive risk, then why on earth couldn't they see it? It's baffling. Absolutely. Unless, of course, we're going to use the youngsters, but I don't know. David, Naki Wells. I've got no clue who that is. Sean, Antonio, Naki, what's he? Antonio admitted he didn't bother trying in some games. There you go. Leon. Bit controversial, but I would like to see Antonio and Wilson score for fun, but will it be for fun? Or, oh no. Rich, they saw it, Miss H, but they don't care. Guilherme's a striker. I don't know. He plays as a right-sided attacking player. He can play in the middle as well, but I don't know if he can play as a striker. Good point. Not easy to produce Premier League players from the academy, much less centre forwards. Ted, Spanish striker is a free agent. Can't remember his name. He was mentioned the other day. Only 31. Now you're going to get me looking at transfer market for all the free agents, aren't you? Gavin, good evening, mate. I was more excited when we signed Wilson. In my opinion, he's a top-level player. Hated when we played him. Invariably, he'd score. Some players just find the net regularly. Bowen and Wilson are ours. I don't disagree with that. The concern, of course, is will he stay fit? That's the problem. Will he stay fit? David, I was thinking exactly that yesterday. Josh is like a Liam. I thought, I'm glad someone else has said it, and it's not just me that thinks that. Gary, given West Ham's history and tradition, West Ham belong to England. Us Americans have no business getting involved. You know, when I talk about the Americans, I don't mean you fans. You do know that, Gary. But I do mean about those who would own the club. I think it would be weird. John, can you do a poll on who's hotter, Staveley or Brady? Antonio should go for coaching. I don't disagree. Or go into the media career. He's good at it. I think he'll do well at it. He'll make a good living out of it. That's where he should go. Hammer it. I don't think he will make the squad, but won't be used. Tuchel is so biased, it's ridiculous. Honestly, I don't even know how we can have a German manager. Even worse, an ex-Chelsea one. Why did we do that? I didn't mind this the Swede, but and I didn't necessarily mind the Italian. What else have we had? And I wouldn't mind Mourinho being. I wouldn't mind Mourinho being England manager, but Tuchel, he's like when he did the post-match interview, I was like, "Fucking hell, mate, wake up!" And then he went, I was happy. I was happy. You were happy. You were happy with what? That turgid, uninspiring performance. You were happy. Why did we do? Why? Why did we do that? Darren, Bone won't make the squad as he's not one of Tuchel's favourites. Steve, there should be a don't know option on the vote. It will be clearer after tomorrow. Also, injuries can get you in. That is true. That is fair. But it shouldn't be injuries will get him in. Should it? Special one. Thing is about being creative with the youth, changing positions, etc. Skelly for Arsenal was a centre midfielder, yet they've converted him to a left back. That's what I would do with Ajala, changing his position. I can see Ajala being a winger because he primarily plays up front, but I can see him playing as a winger. Robert, Bowen's got to be taken to the World Cup in case of injuries to others. Well, how many in the squad? 25? Will he make that squad? I just don't know. Josh, I do hate it with England. It feels like there's a big six nepotism. Bowen is better than Noni and proven, but he's never been given the chance. Let's see what happens tomorrow night, whether he gets selected. Be mad not to pick Bowen. Nothing has changed with Tuchel going nowhere. Glenn, Bowen won't make the England squad unless he signs for one of the big five, not Spurs. They're not one of the big six. They're not a big... No, I agree. Barry, too tall has made England worse. It feels like that. Honestly, I did fall asleep. And I was like lying there. I was thinking, oh, well, come on then, entertain me. And I'm like, oh, God, I've nodded off. Special one. Maybe that's old age as well. Not sure Orford wouldn't be better suited to playing further up the pitch in a 10 role rather than the heart of the engine room. I think he'd be better as a 10. I agree with you there. Darren, how is Potter going to know if the youngsters can cut it in the Premier League if he doesn't use them? But there's the $64 million question. Managers, they survive on results, and you put youngsters in, they get spanked. What then? Bowen is fourth choice now for England. Fourth, Saka, Madueke on the right side. Who else can play on the right? You need to tell me who that third person is, mate. Flyfox. Players from other countries get opportunities to play for top-level clubs. At best, we offer championship opportunities like Potts and Earthy. I think it will be them if anyone breaks in. Potts, I thought, would have played some games by now. I wasn't sure about Earthy, but it's going to be interesting. Earthy turned down a number of opportunities to go out on loan. He said, no, I want to fight for my place in the West Ham squad. I'm not sure he'll get a lot of game time. David, to John Murdoch, not putting Marshall in is the opposite of Daniela. Salama, Paquetá will be 30 next summer. No, he'll be 29 next summer. I'm not sure the big clubs will be that interested. He'll be 20. I reckon we will trigger his 1-year contract extension. That means he'll have 2 years. He'll be 29. He'll go for about 45 to 50 million pounds. Rich, he just had a great season in the championship, playing for his country. The kid needs a chance. Marshall or Potts? Potts did, yes. Marshall played in League One. So I don't know who you mean. If it's Potts, he played in the championship, absolutely. And playing for his country, I think you're talking about Marshall. Marshall played in League One last season. Sai, I refused to watch the England game. The women's rugby was superb. Spanked the Aussie team. Rugby. I go cold. Rugby and cricket. I go cold. Ian, I think Bowen's stats are better than Saka's too. Yeah, I wish I had the stats because I put them up. Bowen in the Premier League last season stood head and shoulders above both Saka and Madueke. Many are going to say, yeah, sure, but Saka was injured. Well, he was. But, even the average stats made Bowen better. Darren, Bowen is much better than Madueke, but it's looking like Bowen won't be picked ahead of him or Saka. That's what I think. Let me finish that poll. End the poll. waiting for those results to come up. So, no, I agree. David, Bowen works harder than Madueke in a game like Serbia. He should be the ideal candidate. Bowen, England, will he make the World Cup squad? 65% no, 35% yes. So yeah, I'm thinking he won't make it. It is all on tomorrow night. It is all on tomorrow night. Harry, the National Wheels and Wrangling Championships is on tomorrow night, Channel 5. On what the National Weasel Wrangling Championship is on tomorrow night on Channel 5 and watch. Hill. Usual. Good thing he don't fly the planes himself. Who doesn't fly the planes himself? Drop. Is that what when they release them into their what the weasel? What? There we go. Tangent time. Good evening to you, Clive. I hope you're well. If Bowen does not get picked for England, it will be the one reason he pushes for a move. He's 29 last shot. He won't push for a move. It's too late. It's too late. If he won't move this season. If he wants to move at the end of the season, it's too late for him for his England career. Mind you, he can make the Euros. You know, he can be in the squad for the Euros, but he won't push to. You know, he's made the squad at West Ham already. You know, I think on merit, he deserves to be in that England squad again. Harry, let's get 150 like. Put those up. Please do. Please become a subscriber of the channel. Please hit the thumbs up if you're enjoying the show as well. Flyfox. They did see it was a problem not to have a young striker and did nothing. I'm not past assuming ignorance, and I'm assuming malice from here on in. You know, even on loan, even a striker on loan would have been good enough. But unless, of course, Potter did say, I don't need a striker, and Potter is going to use the youngsters. Josh, would you begrudge Bowen moving on to, say, Liverpool if it meant he got an England start? I am sentimental enough to want it, but I'm sure I'd regret in the moment he leaves. I think it's too late for him to move. You know, I think even if he did move, I'm not so sure he'd then get a chance to play for England after next summer. Barry, Tuchel's not even two-tone. He's definitely monotone, two-tone, monotone. Steve, how are you, mate? Good to see you. Finally made it on. I've been very poorly for about 5 weeks. I did see it, mate. I'm sure I replied. And if I didn't, my apologies. I hope you're better, Steve. I really do, mate. And thank you for joining. Usual. As long as Antonio doesn't become a bus driver, I'll be happy whatever he does. Big Sam is available and he'd start Bowen. Gavin, I agree with that. Leon, Daniela, love Yazoo, seen them and the Bronski beat. God, you're going back sometime. CC, Bowen takes players on. There were no players running at players on Saturday. I agree. Totally agree. Ted, that England game was pretty boring, to be honest. To slow, sideways, backwards passing. Was it West Ham in disguise? Septic, Potter has picked and brought in youngsters. If they're good enough, they'll play. This is why I asked the question a moment ago. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask that as a poll. Oops, let's get rid of that. I'll tell you what I'll do while I'm here. I'm going to give 5 more gifts. So there's an opportunity. 5 people will receive free membership to the West Ham Voice. So there's that. I'm going to one more poll for tonight. Are our academy players as good as the young players? I'm asking generally, not for any particular player. Are our academy players as good as the young players we bought this summer? I'm going to be interested to see what you say about that. Now, what I said earlier on, just to remind people, what I said earlier on was, I don't think it's Potter that's not going to play players, young players. If he thinks they're good enough, I think they'll get game time. You know, so he's gone out and bought players. For example, he's gone out and bought players like 21-year-old Fernandez, 21-year-old Magassa, 20-year-old Diouf. And they're going to get game time. Pretty certain they're going to get regular game time. But does that mean our academy players are not as good as the young players we bought? I'm doing a poll, so you tell me what you think. David, when you say you don't want American owners, does that include Trip Smith has got a very small holding at West Ham United? There's a lot of speculation that Trip Smith would be create a consortium in order to buy the gold shares. The gold shares have been on offer now for about a year and a half, and he hasn't done it. So I don't think Trip Smith is looking at increasing his stakehold. So no, Trip Smith is already a shareholder at West Ham, but it's a minute shareholding. Is it under 10%? Something like that. Daniela, still doesn't Paquetá want to go back to Brazil? I think he does that in 2 years' time. He might do, and maybe a Brazilian team like Flamengo, where he's from, might be able to afford him next summer. They can't afford him now. John, our German manager can't afford not to pick and use Bowen as his job depends on it. Interesting. David, it will be surprising for Tuchel to play the same players tomorrow, 3 days after their last game. Therefore, I would be surprised if Bowen is not included tomorrow. I would be shocked if he's not included, but let's see what happens. Septic, excuse me 1 second. Juve 20, Scars 19, Fernandes 21. If they're good enough, they'll play. This is my thinking. So I've asked the question, do you think our youngsters are good enough, as good as the young players that have been bought? Bowen, Martin, is definitely hands down a much better player than Madueke, but I think Bowen is going to lose out to him. I'm beginning to think that too. Special one. I've been very anti-Potter, bar the keeper. I think his recruitment has been good. Just wish he'd got ended up going to Torino on deadline day. I think the recruitment's been all right. I know apart from not getting a striker, people have been fairly disappointed. I think it's not bad. You know, overall, I think it's not bad. Darren, if Bowen doesn't get picked, then there's injuries and they can call him. But yet again, you know, you should be picked on merit, not just because someone has been injured. Barry, I think it should be the year of the youngsters. I hope Potter does too. Sai, back to rugby. Addison Moyes' dad, Michael, played for Rochford 100 and was in my dad's French-speaking lodge. Oh, okay. Doesn't make me like rugby anymore, Sai. I'm sorry, mate. Clive, Potter has no concerns with age. They have got to be better. His livelihood depends on it. Doesn't matter, you know, doesn't matter what age they are if they're good enough. God bless. Thank you, Mark. Much appreciated, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. David, Potter hasn't used the youth. He only bought in Scars to appease the fans. Did he though? I don't know about that. Scars had one relatively bad game and he's gone. Hall at Newcastle has several bad games, now one of the best left backs. Well, I'm sort of with what others have said. If you're good enough, it doesn't matter how old you are, you're gonna get to play. That's why I asked the question: are our academy players as good as the players that we bought in, the young players that we bought in? Special one: Doof, Magassa, Fernandes are miles ahead of anything in the academy. I'm afraid only one I would bank on is Ajala, or will be, albeit as a winger rather than a centre forward. That's all right, Si. Hammerit, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thank you for saying that. Gart, Landers doesn't look special to me, but I haven't seen much of him. And the stats clearly show he has a lot of potential. David, yeah, if I remember rightly, Potter did put Scars out versus Liverpool. Salah played that side, never got picked after that, baffling. He did play a few more games, but never got starts. Lots of iron. Good evening to you. If we never play the youngsters, you'll never know. That's good. That's true. Septic recruitment has been good, but two or three players short. I'll be inclined to agree with that as well. Gavin, sub-academy players may be good, but nobody stands out right now. Other clubs would have been poking around. I know people have been poking around looking at Lewis Orford, which is why we ended up giving him a long contract last summer. Rice stood out. A few other players honestly can't see better quality than what we've bought. English Yardy. Our players are good enough giving the opportunity. English youngsters are getting game time opportunities overseas. That's why the exodus is from England. That's a good point. Andrew, they've hardly been given a fair chance to impress. Scars got his chance and was never seen again after being taught a lesson by Salah. Harry, lots of love in here tonight. great to be back and have you all bantering, which is really good. Barry, only a few of our academy players are good enough to compare to the ones that we bought, and I hope those that are will be played. Our teams are getting a bit younger. Well, the average age of the squad has certainly come down. Right, I'm through with the chat, so let me finish that poll and see what you guys say, because it's quite close. Let's have a look here. What is the outcome? Takes a few seconds to pop up. It takes a... Oh, well, never mind. Let's carry... There it is. Are our academy players as good as the young players we bought this summer? 40% said yes, 60% said no. It's closer than I thought. But a lot of you are saying no, they're not as good as. Steve, still, your channel is one of the few remaining that feels like we are the true West Ham United in here. Well, thank you very much, mate. I do try to make it, it is your channel, and I know it sounds corny, but if you don't comment, then there's no show. John, Scars was keeping Emerson and Cressy out the side, so I'd say Potty's been fair with him. Is Diouf better than Skulls? This is the thing. Let's not forget, though, we've got a number of players that are going to be going on African international duty, the AFCON in January. Diouf is going to be one of them, I believe. So Scars will get his opportunity there as well. And that's it, people. I've done an hour and a half, which is good, considering there are no games to talk about and it's only the international break. But let me do that one as well. Scars or Juve, Potts or Fernandez. I know which I choose. Good backup, but not starters. See? Scars or Juve, who's better? Potts or Fernandez, who's better? It's interesting. That's a very, very fair point. Right, people, that's me done. Thank you very much. I am now going to look at, if I'm not having the piss taken out of me, Naki Wells. I'm going to look a bit further into Staveley and see what happened there at Newcastle. Was she kicked out or did she just sell up? Marcus Leonardo, I'm going to look into him as well. So thank you all. Really much appreciated. Been an interesting show. I'm going to finish off, though. I'm going to finish off and I'm going to make no bones about it. And again, going to mention that in 2 weeks' time, I will be going off to have a little operation to get rid of my prostate cancer. I've set up the membership scheme on this channel in order to raise money for Prostate Cancer UK. Anyone that joins the membership scheme, you don't have to, no obligation to. Please do not feel obliged. The link there will take you to the membership page. You can become a member, and any money that I raise through the membership scheme, I will double. So for every £1 that's raised, I will double that and donate that to Prostate Cancer UK. So far, it's about £45 that's been raised through the membership scheme, and I will keep you informed as to how that goes. So the £45 that's been raised, I will double that and make it the £90. But I want to, see if I can do more. But like I said, don't feel obliged. If you want to become a member, you're welcome to. Any money that's raised from that will go to Prostate Cancer UK. Right, people, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Do hit that like button. If you do nothing else, please hit the like button. And I will be back soon with a couple of other shows. So watch out for those as well.